Well, welcome back. Another installment of the Daily Mission. This is for March the 2nd, is when this is being recorded. This is hopefully a reminder and encouragement for you that you are on mission on a daily basis, that God has things that He wants you to accomplish and be a part of in your everyday life. So the other day, my family and I, at the conclusion of dinner, having just an interesting conversation that we ended up talking about genetic traits, things that you can do, that a lot of those things are kind of passed down, and you don't have those things if they're not in your family tree somewhere. Things like being able to curl your tongue, or wiggle your ears, or even kind of spread your fingers in the mode of Spock, live long and prosper. And that phrase, live long and prosper, got me thinking about some things in church world, in our lives as Christians. And it kind of made me begin to wonder out loud, how did that phrase, live long and prosper, make it into the lexicon of Christian life? If you look at a lot of the lives of biblical characters, this was not the dominant look and feel of their lives, that idea of living long and prospering. Lots of stories of difficult paths that people walked and difficult things that God asked individuals to do. Now, certainly we can point to some characters and look at things that God did in maybe advanced years, and years that were well beyond what they should have been able to do. Things like having babies well beyond the years of having children, leading revolutions from their golden years, those kinds of things. But even those stories have a good deal of suffering and difficulty that come with them. So, live long and prosper. Maybe this phrase has gotten a lot of traction in our culture right now because we've learned so much about the human body. People are living longer and longer. They are enjoying a higher quality of life for longer periods of time than ever before. And maybe it's simply because we don't like the idea of life being a struggle, and so we've kind of co-opted some things and even turned some things biblically to fit that idea of live long and prosper. Well, let's be honest. Most of us, the lives that we live in this country, they are better than most of the rest of the world. You don't have to look very far or search very hard to find how much of the world lives on $1 or $2 or $3 a day. Now, I don't think we need to feel badly about that, but I do think that we need, as Americans, as Christ followers, we need to be aware of what we do with what we have. But that's not really what this daily mission is all about. I think, though, that there are many times in life when we want the best of what God has to offer, but we don't want any of the struggle that comes with following Him. It amazes me that there are still loads of conversations, books being written, shows produced, and even sermons spoken that elevate the idea that God is on your side. If God is on your side, you're going to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. When God says that He's going to prosper us, we need to understand that His definition of prosper is very different than we might define it as Americans. In my NIV Bible, there are over 30 references to the word prosperity or some variation of that word, and at least 4 of those are about the wicked prospering and the judgment of those who don't give any credit to God for how their lives are prospering. There are then more than 30 references to suffering or some variation of that word, pointing to the struggle of life, and lots of those pointing directly to Jesus and the Messiah, what was to come for His life. There are then more than 40 references to the word reward. Now, when we see this word reward, it is connected to the dynamic presence of God. It's something that shapes and changes everything that it has contact with. So it's better than our best effort and creation. It is better than our biggest house that we could imagine, better than the fastest or most expensive car that we could think of. It is worth more than our best year of investing or our greatest total earnings. For the record, I don't think that God is against the rich any more than He's against the poor or the middle class, and I think that He is equally frustrated with all of us at different points in our lives. Jabez prays a prayer in 1 Chronicles chapter 4. He asked God to enlarge his territory. I don't think he's asking God for more land so that he can become some sort of real estate mogul. He's asking for a greater influence for the name of God. So if we are to live and follow Jesus the way that he lived, it may indeed be a life of struggle, with some measure of humiliation, of fighting for every breath, maybe even including loss of all kinds, and even leading to our own death. The idea of living long and prospering then doesn't really jive well with the life of Jesus, does it? So if we are to live lives that look like Jesus, shouldn't we pay attention to just how his life was lived? And maybe even more importantly, how it ended. So this week, as you're on mission in your daily life, remember that Christ is calling us to live a life that looks like him. Live long? Maybe. Prosper? Only as he would have us to prosper. This, I think, is where we need to be in our lives as we realize that we're on mission. So, with all of that said, have a great week and find ways in which that you bring glory to God in your everyday.